A technical model is the perfect model of what a skill should look like in its correct technique. It analyses a player's performance by comparing their technique to what the skill should look like so they know how their performance differs from it. And this can allow them to know how they can change their technique to improve their performance. A technical model produces qualitative data rather than quantitative, numerical and statistical data, produced through other methods of performance analysis such as notation analysis. This gives the performer more information about how they are performing the skill and their technique, not just its outcome. A technical model can be produced by literature, for example, a basketball manual that describes what the technique should be by using coaching points so it can be compared to the technique of the player. Another way a technical model can be formed is through watching an elite performer to visually see what the technique should look like, because if they are successful in their sport, and if their technique is copied by the performer, then they choose to be successful. It would be most effective to use a combination of both literature and watching an elite performer, because producing a technical model is subjective, and there is no one right way that is best to perform a skill. So by looking at different techniques, it gives a variety of successful ways that a skill can be performed. A technical model should consist of 3 phases of performance, which are the preparation, execution and recovery stage. The preparation phase is when the performer is getting ready to perform the skill. For example, in a chest pass and netball, as shown in the pictures, the preparation phase would be holding the ball at chest height with hands in a triangle, elbows in, and facing the way that they're going to throw the ball. The execution phase is the performance of the skill, and this is when they step into the direction that they are throwing the ball and extend their arms to throw it. The final stage is the recovery stage. So in this example, it would be the performer following through and releasing the ball before moving on to the rest of the game. Data is collected through watching a performer and comparing their performance to the technical model of how the skill should look. Typically, coaches use the technical model live during their training sessions, where they watch the performers and tell them how they can improve their technique. However, it's also useful to video their performance, as this can allow the performer to watch their own performance to see their technique. By videoing performance, it also allows the coach and performer to re-watch their performance multiple times to see the technique in detail. There are many different softwares that can be used to help improve the method of data collection by allowing someone to look at their performance in more detail. One of these is SlowPro, which allows someone to film a performance and then look back at it in slow motion, which is useful because it allows the coach to slow down the skill to look at their technique in detail. This is also very cheap and is on most phones, so the coach will be able to use this. Another software is Coach's Eye, described as the world's leading platform for coaches and athletes who need to review athlete technique in game film by Google Apps, and it allows people to break down and analyse their performance by videoing it. They are also able to zoom in, and it provides a variety of analysing tools. These tools include being able to watch them in slow motion, like on SlowPro. However, they are also able to look through the video frame by frame to see each stage of the skill. They can also add a voice narrative to give feedback to the performer and use teletrait on the videos by drawing lines and circles, measuring angles on the performance, etc. And this allows them to see their technique in more detail. Another thing that is useful about the Coach's Eye is that you can place 2 videos side by side, which can be beneficial as it allows the performer's performance to be compared to the correct technique or the technical model. This can then be shared with the performers so they can repeatedly watch their performance video back. Another software that is more advanced and considered the best video performance analyst solution is Dartfish, which allows you to video performance using drawing tools to analyse it and layer performances on top of each other to compare them to the perfect technical model. The technical model can be used for a wide variety of skills across many sports, but the skill we observed and analysed using the technical model was the box out and rebound in basketball, which is used by an attacker when they are trying to get the rebound off the ball of the net after someone has tried to shoot. The perfect model of the box out rebound includes the preparation, execution and recovery stage. These pictures show the comparison of the technical model to an elite performer to the player's performance of the skill. The preparation stage consists of the player blocking the defender from trying to get the rebound. This is done by the performer blocking them with their arm on their chest, before placing their foot on the outside of the opposition stance before pivoting around with their back to the player to face the net so they know where their opponent is. They then need to keep the opponent away from the net and behind them. To do this, they hold their arms out behind them and stand with a wide base of support, making it hard for the opponent to get around them and unlikely that they will lose balance. The player's performance of the preparation phase differs from this, because firstly they don't block properly. Although they put their arm on the opponent's chest, they do it very lightly so it doesn't properly block their opponent, which means that opponent can be able to move forwards and potentially get the ball. They also don't place the foot in the right place, as it was before the opponent's foot, which would have made it easier for the opponent to get around them. However, they did pivot around well to face the net and stayed in contact with the opponent so they knew the position. Once they had pivoted around, they had a very good stance as it was wide and low, making it hard for the opponent to get around, because they also had their arms up behind them in a good position that was giving them lots of balance. The execution phase happens when the player knows where the ball has gone, knows whether the ball has gone in the net or hasn't. They need to, if the ball doesn't go in the net, then they need to get the rebound. If they do need to get the rebound, they need to run into the ball and do a 2-footed jump to catch it, swinging both their arms up for maximum height. The ball should be caught with both hands above their head and in the air at the top of the player's jump. The player's performance of the execution phase wasn't as successful as the model player because they didn't catch the ball, which could have been for several reasons. At the start of the execution phase, they were too slow to run in, which meant that by the time they reached the ball, it was already level with their arms. They didn't jump to catch it. This would be problematic because it makes it easier for the opponent to reach over them and grab the ball. As you can see from the pictures, the model player has his arms above his head ready to catch the ball. However, the performer that we're analysing is still on the ground when she goes to catch it. The recovery stage of the box out and rebound is when the player is landing and needs to throw the ball to another team player. As they start to land, they need to be looking for someone to throw the ball to by looking over their shoulder and start to turn towards them. When they land, they should be holding the ball with both hands and their elbows out to avoid the opponent from grabbing the ball out of their hands. They need to pivot towards who they are going to throw the ball towards, making sure that they do so with their back to the opponent so the ball can't be grabbed from their hands. The performer that I analysed failed to do the recovery stage because they didn't catch the ball and they went off court, therefore the skill was incomplete. The technical analysis is a very beneficial tool for analysing performance because not only does it allow an in-depth analysis of the fine details of performance by dividing it up into the preparation, execution and recovery stage, it can also be useful for all performers, whether they are beginner, intermediate or more advanced. For beginners, a technical model can act as a guide for any skill and can be used as an example or that they can copy to ensure that they are using the correct techniques. This is especially beneficial because it will avoid them learning any incorrect techniques that could form into bad habits that are hard to get rid of, as they are learning to do the skill from the correct technique. For more experienced players, it can help to further improve their technique by comparing it to the technique of another, perhaps more successful performer. This can allow them to adjust their technique even if it is only slightly, and it will improve their overall performance. In addition, the focus on qualitative data of how they perform the skill rather than quantitative data such as statistics of their performance outcome allows the coach or performer themselves to see how they can improve. Where qualitative data only shows the outcome of performance and tells the player how much they need to improve, the technical model can tell them what needs to be changed or adjusted to improve their technique and therefore their overall performance. But despite the obvious benefits of using the technical analysis to improve performance, there are also many disadvantages. There are many different softwares that can be used to enhance technical analysis. The more advanced and helpful these are, the more expensive they get. For example, although Slowpro is free, it is a very basic form of video analysis, and the better apps such as Dartfish are extremely expensive so can't be used by many clubs or coaches, especially local teams or performers. And though it can be done live, this is not as beneficial, As performance is very quick, it is hard to analyse it by watching it only once, as the coach won't be able to see all the individual aspects of the skill. Furthermore, when videoing performance, it is crucial that it is done from the right angle where all aspects of the skill can be recorded and analysed. Otherwise, it will lead to the coach not being able to see the performer's technique or giving them the wrong advice as they are doing their technique. However, the coach can't see from this angle where the performance was filmed from. The coach would also need to have a high understanding of the technique needed for the skill, because if they don't have the correct technique, it will either cause them to tell the performer the wrong technique, having a negative impact on their performance, or they won't be able to analyse the skill at all.